Clay Stafford is a best-selling author, filmmaker, a public speaker of national renown, and now a Kentucky Colonel. His latest endeavor is a musical collaboration with some close friends on XO, the album. So, ladies and gentlemen, Clay Stafford.
Thank you. I wanted to. We talked about doing a panel because it's slightly unusual for a book to generate a soundtrack. Normally, you think about that in terms of you know, a feature film or a hit television series. But in this particular case, we ended up having. We ended up having what became Jeffery Deaver's XO the novel and a companion CD full of 11 songs from the novel itself, so that people who wanted to either just listen to some good music could check this out, or if they wanted to go along and listen to it while they're reading the book for an extra thing. And it seemed like a crazy idea, but it seemed to work. So with me here is Jeffery Deaver. I don't know that he needs much of an introduction. He's #1 international best-selling author, but he originally came up with the idea for XO, and we're just going to start with the process. I'm going to talk to Jeff. And use that microphone right there if you don't mind. And let's just take them chronologically through the process, and then we'll bring in Treva and Ken. And I love these chairs, by the way. Thank you, Roxy. All right, Jeff, let's start with you. You're sitting there writing, and let's just go through the process.
Well, actually, Clay, we have to go back a little further than that. Probably the year I was in grade school, 1982. Okay, I wasn't in grade school. A song by the Police, Sting, singing "Every Breath You Take," which could played in a major key or with a Karen Carpenter accompaniment, could have been kind of a love song, but sung by the Police was very ominous. It was a stalker song, and I love the idea that one piece of music could be both. And I put that in the back of my head, and then went on to write a number of various books, including the Lincoln Rhyme series from the Bone Collector, my Kathryn Dance series, a lot of standalone books. But always in the back of my head was the fact that I knew I wanted to somehow work that concept of a song that could be good or bad into a book of mine. I decided to do that with the book that became XO, as in Hugs and Kisses, because a stalker is after my heroine.
Shameless plug.
Is after my heroine, a young, attractive country western superstar, and he descends into her life and makes her life absolutely miserable because of the song whose lyrics I wrote, "Your Shadow," which could be, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're having a tough time. I'll be as close as your shadow, don't worry," or "I'll be as close as your shadow, right behind you every minute of the day," which could be interpreted either way. Kayleigh, my heroine, interpreted it as a song about support and love for family and her partners. But Edwin Sharp, my stalker, interprets it as something very different and stalks her and gets close to her life. Uses each verse in the song as a model to commit terrible crimes. Well, I'm going on and on about this. Suffice it to say that I got it into my head that song lyrics by themselves are pretty useless. I mean, you can read them and it's poetry sort of, but they don't come alive until there's music involved. And so I called my good friend Clay and said, do you think that we could work out something here about actually setting these to music? And he said, yeah, you bet we could. We did the one song, and then I guess for some reason you felt the other lyrics weren't too bad either, the 10 sets of lyrics I wrote for the book, and we put together, well, I say we put together, he's done all the work. I wrote the lyrics, and he and Ken and Treva and everyone else, all the wonderful musicians, and Tracy, the folks at American Blackguard, just put this whole project together, and now I'm a producer. It's just cool.
Well, how it came about, he sent an email and he said he was looking for someone who was did I know any producers or composers in Nashville? And I said, yeah, I do.
I'm talking to one right now.
Yeah, well, what do you need? And so he told me about the concept, and I said, yeah, I'd be happy to introduce you to several people, Jeff, but you do know that's what we do. And so I think we connected him with some of the stuff that we had, and so we started to make a go at it. So I talked to Ken immediately. Now I am my background is I'm going to ask Ken to talk about his background here, and if you don't mind sharing the microphone with him there, Jeff. I asked him, I said, you know, we've got this idea going on, and just my background is I'm mostly a writer, screenwriter, book writer, and with the film projects that I've done, I've actually composed and produced scores that went with my films, but never released actually a freestanding singer oriented CD before. And so let me tell a little bit about your background, Ken, and then how we kind of came at this.
I've been a musician all my life.
You want to drop some names of some of the people that you've worked with?
Gosh, I always blank when somebody asks me this. Some of my favorites have been like David Byrne, Peter Frampton, NSYNC.
Yeah.
No,
Jeff says nobody big though. You can name someone significant. But anyway, we both had a background in all this, and so Ken's more in that area. And so I asked him. I said, I really want to compose some of this stuff with Jeff, but would you join me in this in doing it? And so Ken said, yeah, I think it would be a great idea. So
yeah, I think this would be a great idea.
Yeah. So we ended up. Ken and I kind of worked out the music. He would work on some on his own, and some I came over to your house, and we kind of went in different rooms and worked, and we kind of worked out some melodies and chord progressions and everything to it. And tell us about creating the whole demo process and everything, and how we got it back to Jeff.
Well, I have a small studio in the house, and I used the equipment that I had to just try to give as close as I could quickly, and all with computers and synthesizers and so forth, create just demos that Jeff could get an idea of the direction we were thinking. Most of them didn't even have lyrics. I just played synth lines to make it sound like it was a...
Yeah.
And then a couple of them I had to sing. Sorry, I had to sing.
He's got a good voice. He's got a good voice, whatever it says.
But then it was actually a really unusual project because we hadn't found our singer quite yet. And so we were writing the songs, and I didn't want to go too far into the production of them because I wanted to make sure that what we were doing was matching with our singer.
Yeah, so we sent the songs with basically really rough tracks and just musical instrumentation for the lyric line up to Jeff, and he listened and he made some suggestions. Some in his mind he had a little slower on this one or whatever, and so he contributed that, and we made the changes, and we all came to an agreement, and then it brought us to, well, we need a singer. So Ken did some preliminary research, and
I searched the internet.
He searched the internet, and we ended up with I don't know how many possibilities. There was quite a bit. He brought, I don't know how many you brought in.
I created a short list of about 40 or 50, but about a really short list of 3 or 4.
Yeah, so we listened to all of those songs, and then we narrowed it down to about 6. So I started calling those 6 people in and seeing if they could come in and talk to me. And it seemed like, it's always one of those things where they never look like their picture. They never really sound like like you're listening on the demo, because everything is always fixed. And so there's got to be a little bit of an audition process for this. And it was a little bit of a different thing, because this one was almost like a Broadway musical type release. It was a cast album, and it wasn't really going to be something that was going to say, this is a so-and-so record that we're trying to promote an artist. We're actually just promoting a one-time project, and we need somebody to portray the character of Kayleigh Towne that Jeff had created. So we got about 6, and we had people coming in, and you get the feel that it's just not the person that I'm looking for, and I'm like, okay, well, I think I see where we are, and I'm still just not happy. And all of that prepared me for when Treva came in, the very last one. And she came in and she looked just like the person. Her personality came across as that Kayleigh Towne. Tell us a little bit about the Kayleigh Towne personality.
Sure. Kayleigh Towne is my, not the protagonist in the book. My heroine is Kathryn Dance, who you may know from a couple of novels. She's a police investigator in California. But Kayleigh Towne is the attractive, very talented singer-songwriter in the story. She is she's a good girl. There's no other way. That's how she is self-described. Her father was an overbearing country western superstar. You can kind of think in terms of imagine Johnny Cash meets Merle Haggard. Just a larger-than-life character who kind of steamrolled his way over everybody, and Kayleigh resists that. She's considered a good girl, and she has a religious streak to her. She doesn't want to do the shenanigans that a lot of entertainers in this day and age do. In fact, there's one scene I wrote. Do you all remember the Taylor Swift Kanye West incident at the CMA Country Grammys or whatever it was? Well, in my episode, I had to rewrite that. So there's a character who's kind of like Kayleigh, who comes like West, Kanye West, who does that to Kayleigh, and he takes the award away from her, and it's actually in a country western venue, the CMTs or something like that, Country Music Awards, and she says, and he says, you shouldn't have this award. You're too young. You don't know anything about the roots of country western, and he's kind of, like a bad boy from the Bakersfield. He's got tats, so he's inked and everything, and he's holding his hand up like this. She says, well, okay, if you think I'm not traditional, I'll tell you what. Let's take the top 5 hits of Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline, and Charlie Pride, and what we're going to do is then I'm going to sing them. I'm going to sing the first verse, and you sing the second verse. Shall we do that? And the guy had no clue even who these people were. So he kind of with his tail between his legs, he walked off the set. So this is Kayleigh Towne. She's strong, she's gutsy, and yet she's a very nice person who finds herself up against this relentless stalker.
So in walks Treva Blomquist, and everything seemed to be really good. We started discussing the project, and just give us your perspective on it, Treva.
I'm just a singer-songwriter. I don't have an overbearing famous father, but I was really excited about this project. It's music these days. People expect that it's free, and that's just something that you just kind of are up against these days. And I'm a singer-songwriter, and being involved in a project like this, getting the chance to work with Jeffery and Clay and Ken, it's just been really fun for me, and just a really great opportunity for a singer-songwriter like me.
So we picked Treva, and we sent Jeff some demos of her other songs that she has done from her other 3 albums,
which are available
over here at the table inside, and are all good stuff. And so he was happy with it. I think you were listening in an airport at the time, and somebody next to you said, "This is a good singer."
Yeah. I was not having the best hearing in the world, and not having my earplugs in. I was listening to the download on my iPhone, and the guy next to me, well, first of all, I was a little irritated that I didn't have earphones on, but then he listened, and he stopped getting irritated and said, "Who is that?" Now immediately, I'm in the book business. Entertainment business. I get a little nervous when somebody starts asking questions about my projects. And I said, just wait and see. she's going to be somebody someday. I didn't give her name away. Sorry, Treva. Probably cost you a few album sales then. But I wasn't going to risk that. This guy had just written a book about a stalker and was looking for a singer to sing his album. But no, and we listened to the tracks, and it was just wonderful.
So Jeff thought we should do it. So I talked to Treva, and we set it up, and then we started the process. And Ken, you want to talk a little bit about how we talked with Jeff and then proceeded from there?
Yeah, it all started with a conference call, really. Jeff had emailed down the lyrics and a few somewhat cryptic notes in a true mystery writer fashion. And we got on the phone, and I think we spent about an hour or two just going through, talking about the different songs, what he had in mind, and where he wanted it to go. And I was hurriedly scribbling notes and trying to take down, mention songs that I thought might be somewhere in the ballpark to give myself some kind of benchmark.
Sometimes when we would come to something, he would say, I'm hearing Paul Simon there. We were both writing, okay, we're dictating, we write Paul Simon, get to the end, and both of us just look at each other and they go, okay. Yeah. And we keep on going.
Yeah. But after that, it was literally just kind of trying to lock myself away from the world, and you did some too, and try to dig in and work out music that would be suitable for what Jeff was describing. Yeah. I have the benefit of having a small studio at the house, like I said, so I was able to go down and put some things together. And to be very honest, I had no idea what scale anybody wanted this to be at that point. So I was attempting to build it as strong as possible with digital instruments, with computers and synthesizers and so forth, with a few guitar things, but trying to build it as much as possible. And it became apparent pretty quickly that it was bigger than that. And
And let me just give you an idea of what's happened in the last 4 days. We've had 9 million hits on the internet in the last 4 days from just from what we've done so far. And it just came out on Tuesday, and in the last 4 days, 9 million hits. So it's becoming quite popular. We're now available in Japan as well as all of Europe, and so it's truly going global.
So anyway, wow, that's so cool.
I guess that's news to Ken, because sorry, Ken, I forgot to tell you that, buddy.
So anyway, so I tried to give as close to production ready tracks as I possibly could myself before we started bringing people in. But it was certain songs just said, oh, this needs a fiddle, this needs a guitarist, I really need drums on this. And very rapidly, it turned into a bit of a band project being built, but it was kind of a backwards band project, because it started with these keyboard demos that I built out, and then we added drums, and we added bass, and we added...
And tell them kind of the funny thing, how we decided, okay, these are all going to be country records. We just added a fiddle and what was your thing?
Oh, yeah, we were trying to decide how to...
how do you make Paul Simon, Hank Snow?
Yeah. So in the tradition of modern country, you take a pop tune and add a fiddle track.
And a mandolin. Yeah, fiddle and a mandolin. Yeah. So we throw in a fiddle and a mandolin and a female singer, and there you go. Paul Simon.
Y'all, Paul Simon.
So, honestly, my kids found that I was in the basement an awful lot.
Yeah.
We got Treva in. We recorded a few songs.
Yeah, let's talk to Treva. Let's stop right there, and let's talk to Treva for a second, because Treva is used to working by herself. She writes her own songs. She sings her own songs, she produces her own songs, she controls all her own songs, and suddenly she is thrown in the midst of two guys who are just way on another planet from wherever she came from. It's one thing to meet someone in the office room and talk, but it's another to come in and go, Lord mercy, what did I get myself into? So let's just talk frankly about what was going through your head.
Well, I have learned a ton about the book world versus the music world. In the music world, everything is done with like 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance. We're talking like booking records so you can get reviews, everything. And we did ours. It's got to be done next month. Let's do it. You know, it was kind of. We still had very much deadlines, and we stuck to those. But it was very fun. It was very fun for me because I normally do write everything and control everything. But it was very fun for me to step outside of myself and act and kind of become Kayleigh Towne for these songs. The difficult part of that was that I hadn't read the book, and so I was basically just kind of decoding the lyrics and saying, all right, you know, I know basically that eventually there's someone who's going to take these lyrics and use them against her. So it was just really fun. The whole process kind of stretched me, I feel. I enjoyed it.
Some of the things that we were doing, the decision, one of them was Ken and I both like Benny and the Jets and that like live sound that goes there, and so I said let's make one of them live, and then we talked about it and we said no, let's don't do it live, and then we read the book finally, and Kayleigh controls everything, and so
we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, she's a control freak, basically. She's a real purist about her music, and she has very clear ideas of the sound that she wants, and she doesn't like live recordings. And in fact, she one of the big problems, as Treva was talking, and we have this in the book world too, basically theft, you know, file sharing and things like that, and there's a big issue about bootlegs, concert-generated bootlegs, and people who sell them. Now, if somebody records it for home, I don't really care particularly if it's for themselves, but if they do it for profit, that's a real problem. And if somebody, you know, wants to steal my book and read it, download it, or scan it themselves, it happens once or twice. And some people just can't afford a book or afford a CD. I understand that. But when people start making money doing that, then I object to it. And there's a great scene where I'm trying to think of what I do to the file sharer in the book. Do I kill him first? No, I torture him first and then I kill him. Yeah, that's right, I get both. So I'm sorry, LimeWire, and if they still have LimeWire,
nope, it's gone.
That's gone, okay. I'm responsible for that. Oh my God, if they're killed, I'm going to be the first suspect.
So Treva comes in and she starts recording. Now Treva is a good girl, and she writes very wholesome type lyrics, and she's very concerned about writing very wholesome type lyrics, and she's concerned about what her grandmother hears her sing, and we bring in and Jeff. Well, he writes.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, let's put it this way. When I conceived of these songs, half of them are clues, contain clues, but also I listened to an awful lot of music before this. I wanted to get a sense of what's out there in the real world now. And there's some things, there's songs out there, and I'm not even talking rap, I'm just talking, there's some songs that are a little, I guess we could say risque, or a little on the borderline. And they're not really raunchy, but I think they kind of go right up to that point, and some artists are, you know, comfortable doing that. And
Treva was not.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yes, certainly.
So she's singing about, you know, like love in the daisies, walking among the daisies type thing, butterflies and stuff like that. And Mr. Deaver wants to talk about sweaty love and turning your furnace up high.
But I did it.
And Treva, I have to say that the song she's talking about, which you'll hear in a little bit, Love is Fire, Love is Flame, is really it's not incompatible with romantic love and marriage and so forth. It's simply that it's about a relationship having that spark to it. It's not about somebody who's being promiscuous or anything like that at all. It's simply that between two people, I think I have the phrase, love takes, well, basically, love welds two souls and makes them one. You know, you have the concept of heat and love and so forth, and I thought that was kind of a nice line. But you know, it doesn't take much for listeners to say, that's hot.
Well, Treva is a planner, and in Ken and I's world, finish my sentence.
Ken, can you get me 30 songs written in like a week?
Yeah,
or you
that's
know,
kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And so we're not really waiting for the muse. We're not waiting. It's like, okay, I gotta have one on Thursday. I gotta have 3 on Friday, and I've got something. Mr. Deaver, you know something about this sort of schedule?
Yeah, it's we're craftspeople up here. There are deadlines. It's a business. Writing books is a business. The line I use that these folks have heard before, and they're going to start throwing things at me if I keep repeating myself. But Shakespeare, Rembrandt, Beethoven, you know, we think they're artists nowadays. They worked on commission. They all did. They had deadlines. And Rembrandt was a portraiture artist. You know, he was like the Sony Cybershot camera of his day. He took pictures of people, well, painted pictures of people. Shakespeare wrote a play very, very frequently. Beethoven worked on commission for the crown. I respect that a lot. That's what you have to do in this business.
So we put all the songs together, but this was the kind of thing that we were throwing at Treva, who does not work this way.
No, the one song that comes to mind is we basically recorded them in 2 batches. And so we recorded one batch in January, and we recorded one batch in February, and there was one that I didn't have a track for yet, and I just figured, oh, we'll just record it next month.
There was a reason you didn't have a track.
I didn't have a track because it wasn't finished, and so
we hadn't written it yet.
When we got to the end, we had finished, you know, all we had that I knew we had planned for the day, and they said, we have one more, and I said, have a what, you know? And they said, just go upstairs for a second and we'll bring you back down. And I'm just like, I've never heard this song before, and you want me to record it?
Yeah, this is how Ken and I did one day. I was over there, and it's like, okay, you pick a song. And he picked a song, I pick a song. I go upstairs to the baby grand. He stays downstairs and does that. I said, we'll see you in 15 minutes. And we go up and write a song. He writes a song. I come down. We kind of go back and forth.
Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde. That's exactly the way it was recorded. He didn't have a song. It's double 2-album set. He did not have a song when he went into the studio.
So in Caribou, Elton John. So I mean, there's a precedence of that sort of activity. So Treva was like, "What?" And we said, "Yeah, go on upstairs." And so she went upstairs, and we said, "Okay, what are we doing with this one?" And let me pass this back down.
And I dug in and very, very quickly got a track together enough to sing to.
Yeah, we just put it. He put together a track so she could. There was no track. There was no song. Yeah. So we just kind of threw it together, and then went up and got Treva. And in my usual way, Treva, you're gonna love this, right?
That's exactly right.
And
that's exactly right.
Oh, and he, yeah, and it was. I mean, it was literally. You were up there talking to her, and I was still finishing putting the basic track together.
Yeah, I was just making sure she hadn't left yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that for being a planner, I was actually being very flexible, and I was very proud of myself.
She did a great job, and we have exposed her to all sorts of things. We filmed music videos for all of the songs, and one day we were sitting at the table, and she said, "I'm feeling sort of invaded or something." She says, "There is a camera always in my face," and I was like, "Yeah, that's it." So we've kind of put her through it. But we put the album together and got the artwork, and then, you know, so far Jeffery Deaver, the whole instigator, has not heard anything other than those rough tracks with some instrumentals, and so we print a master, we put it in an envelope, we send it to him, and of course we're all like this. Treva sings, "Has Jeff heard yet? Has Jeff?" Not yet. He hasn't listened to it yet, but I know he's waiting for the right. Well, Yeah, he was traveling. He was traveling, and I said he's probably waiting for just the right time, because that's what I would do. And we even joked. We said he's going to go and darken the lights in his living room, and he's going to put it on, and he's going to have Madeline in there, and they're going to listen to this beautiful thing in a controlled stereo setting. And so we put it in an envelope, and we're waiting, and this is what I get back.
An email to the extent that Clay got the CD.
Right there, just right there, I'm deflating, because that's not a good way to start.
It's broken in half. And we all know the difference between the analog world and the digital world. And occasionally with digital, you know, there's a little bit or byte out of place, and it doesn't sound quite right, and the highs are not what they should be. The dynamic range is a little different. But a CD broken in half, there's nothing you can do about that. And it was not these guys' fault. Because I was traveling, I wanted it so badly, I had my assistant send it to me. I think I was in Germany or Spain or something like that. But it was en route somewhere. It got folded or through an automatic machine or something. But they sent me another one right away, and I was just floored by it.
Yeah. So we ended up doing it, and then we created, I don't know if it's how often it's been done before. I don't know if anywhere we created a book and music tour together. And
yeah, there have been other people who have included music with a book. Sometimes it's actually bound in, but that tends to be atmosphere, soundtrack only. It's not an integral part of the book. For instance, Michael Connolly has released a CD of songs, jazz standards that his character Harry Bosch likes, which is wonderful. You know, it's great fun. But my songs do two things. First of all, they have clues to them. To be honest with you, I think the lyrics are, as you're about to hear, some of them are kind of clever and funny. Some are a little meaningful. I spent a lot of time trying to evoke emotion, but they also define who Kayleigh is. And you know, the old adage is that you don't talk about a character, you let them explain themselves through actions, words, and in this case, through Kayleigh's songs that she has written. That is, I wrote, but pretending I was Kayleigh. And so that's why this is a unique project.
Yeah. So we ended up taking it into the studio after Treva had recorded. Then we brought in some of the other musicians. And of course, Ken plays numerous things. If you get the CD, which is also available in there, if you get the CD, you'll see in the credits that his credits are about as long as the CD itself. It's to the point of being embarrassing, isn't it, Ken? Yeah. But he's incredibly talented. We brought in Will Lamb on guitar, Joe Polanzani on drums, and Adam Stewart did mandolin and fiddle. And the end product, Ken mixed it and mastered it, and it's a great piece. And as I said, it's in just the 4 days it's been here, we've got 9 million hits on the web, and it's traveled around the world. It's available in places that my web browser won't even open the browser for that particular country for whatever reason, because I position myself in the United States. And so I think it's just amazing that we've gone global with the whole project. And thanks. And but probably the biggest compliment of all is Treva said today that her grandmother would like to listen to the music.
I can relax.
She also wants a book.
Oh, she's getting one, believe me.
She is very excited.
Signed to Grandma, right, don't worry.
I told her that people are going to get killed, and I said, be careful, you know, I just want you to know going into it. And she said, I think I want to read it, and I'll make up my mind for myself.
Treva, just tell her it's a file sharer who gets killed, you know?
So I've heard about Grandma. One of the things I said it's about what you invite your grandmother to come listen to you do, you know, perform this live or something, and Treva said, My grandmother likes to listen to me in church, so I think this is a big step in the fact that she's sharing it. I think that's that's like the biggest compliment. That's bigger than us going to Japan. That's just great.